believe that we have the responsibility to actually take this forward and to make this ratio a lot different, and actually to feel confident that we can do everything that men can, maybe even in a different kind of way, initiate change in the media and in the society. I will now hand over to Milka, and I think it's Jeta who's going to continue the conversation, and I'm really looking forward to the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara, so much. I guess, Jeta, floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. These were great statistics you offered us, Larissa, and it's actually wonderful to go into a debate that is not theoretical and just based on our activism that we would like to see more women in leadership, but it's based exactly on data that is so illustrative of how the situation is. So many women, there are majority, to summarize your data, majority of people in the media who work let's say the lowest ranked jobs are women, but actually there is a very little number of them who manage to go to the top. This is not the case only in the media. Although the women in the media, we see them are dominant in many different roles as reporters, presenters, producers, anchors, proofreaders. The audience can see this. When we look up to the hierarchy, as we see from the statistics, there are very few females in managerial positions. Why is this so? Is the question we will try and define today. Even though it is the same in other professions, we are asking these questions because our job is very public. It's inherently everything we do is public. If there are no role models in this public sphere, where there is a lot of women entering the profession, what do we expect from professions where not a lot of women enter such professions? Have a chance to prove their skills and competencies. We see female reporters often covering different topics. So there is no lack of women covering what is considered tough topics, investigating crime, corruption, covering war and crisis situations, conflicts, suffering attacks in live broadcasts. But then again, we do not see female managers. Why is this so? This gap in leadership structures becomes much more evident. Only 30% of the people that BIRN has worked with only 30% of those media are led by women. And this is probably out of a group of 85 very leading media. So there should have been a better statistics. I think the statistic is worse if you consider all the local media in the region. So representation of women in the media, often it is media misrepresents women, distorts them. For example, often in the Balkans, but as well elsewhere in the world, media focuses on women's sexual attributes instead of their ideas, activities, and successes. But to pause there, the women that I have in this debate have proved the opposite. Some of them lead their media institutions. Some of them work as journalists in media institutions. I have a great panel to represent. People who are leading and working in the media from Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, and Serbia. For everybody who's with us, I want to present all the panelists. Biljana Petkovska, who's director of the Macedonia Institute for Media in North Macedonia. Marijana Bojanić, who's head of Vijesti, CEO at Vijesti in Montenegro. Beti Njuma, a journalist at Ora News in Albania. and Ivana Pavlovic, editor of Nova Ekonomija in Serbia. What a great panel. Editors, journalists, leaders of media. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll start off with Biljana Petkovska, Director of Macedonia Institute for Media. The floor is yours, Biljana.
Thank you very much, Jeta. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today at this important discussion. I will try to present the situation in Macedonia on this issue. I will talk about the position of women in the media, and we will touch upon the issue of gender equality in media reporting, because these two, I think, are very closely related and equally important. Various reports by relevant civil society organizations and institutions over the years indicate a lack of balanced gender representation in media reporting in Macedonia, which became particularly evident during the 2020 pandemic. The voices of women, as well as of many marginalized groups, were lost in the flood of information and disinformation related to the pandemic and political events that dominated the media agenda. The research of the Pressfire Institute conducted in 2020 shows that women in the role of experts made up less than 20% of the total number of interlocutors in the debate shows on the 7 national television stations. And the difference was particularly visible on topics such as domestic and foreign policy, economics, education, social affairs, or health. Another analysis of the Agency for Audio and Audiovisual Media Services, our media regulator, conducted during the election campaign we had last year, 2020, found that in the daily news programs of the 7 national television stations, in which 1,378 articles on the election campaign were analyzed, only 3 referred to gender-related topics. In the news related to the election campaign, female candidates were represented with only 10% versus the male candidates. And then the female representatives of the political parties were represented with 4% versus the male party representatives, which made 96%. Female holders of state positions were 29 versus the men in these positions with 79%. Female experts were represented with only 16% versus male experts. And female analysts were presented with only 18%. Traditional stereotypes about the role of men and women in the family and society are reflected in media content in our country, which sometimes conveys even degrading images of women. This further affects the role of women in various social areas such as politics, economics, and even in everyday life. In a research conducted recently as part of a larger paper, we found out that the women journalists, female journalists, those that were subject of violence, especially online, are not many, but still there are serious cases for which criminal procedures have been initiated. A couple of narratives dominate in this public communication online. Usually these female journalists are presented in a way that they are less intelligent than male, that they are less capable of doing their job, and then that they make a career in a very non-decent manner. These are quite concerning trends and something we should really look at seriously. When you look at the media scene in Macedonia, the trend, like in the region that was mentioned by previous colleagues, is not any different. We have inside the newsrooms, the number of journalists, both men and female, is almost equal, but men dominate the managerial positions, from editorial to managerial, as well as in the ownership structures. A good sign here in our country is that we have editor-in-chief of the most popular TV station in the country, female, and then at the public service media, the first and the second channel, the one in Macedonian and in Albanian language, they have a female editors-in-chief, but of course at the managerial position, top managerial positions on all levels within the public service media, we have these positions occupied by men. I think that the goals, yes.
Thank you, Biljana. We will make 10 minutes max of each presentation, then we put back questions. That's a good study from somebody who's studying the media. And now I want to listen from three people who are doing the job in the media. Biljana has a study, a perspective as an institute. And now I'm talking to a person who is running Vijesti, which was not always run by women, but is now run by a woman, Marijana Bojanić. That's great. Marijana, there are already questions that are being asked in this panel that I would like you to be more upfront on answering, like questions such as, what are the key barriers to women getting managerial positions? Is it because women face prejudices? Are they less ambitious? Are they less capable? Is there something third holding them back? I'm very interested to hear, what do you think are the barriers to women getting more jobs that you and me have?
Okay, thank you. I would like to speak in my Montenegrin language, as I understand that's okay for you. Okay. Prije nego što krenem da odgovaram na vaše pitanja.
Marijana, just a moment for people who, Aida, can you give us instruction for people who are with us and do not understand Montenegrin? How do they go to translation?
Yeah,
just
sure.
give us few notes.
You have that icon down there. It says interpretation. Just choose English, and you can continue following Marijana's. Or we have a translation for other languages, so you do not have to.
Okay,
Marijana can continue.
Okay, thank you. Prije nego što krenem da odgovorim na vaše ljubazno pitanje, htjela bih prvo da vam ispričam nešto što se desilo za vrijeme COVID krize i lockdowna u Crnoj Gori. Znači, prošlog aprila i maja bio je lockdown u Crnoj Gori zbog COVID krize i tada je država odlučila da pokriva dio plate roditeljima koji žele da budu kući sa svojom djecom. Znači, moglo je da se izabere muž ili žena, otac ili majka, da budu odsutni sa posla da bi bili kući sa djecom. I desila se jedna nevjerovatna stvar u našoj firmi gdje je skoro 200 ljudi zaposleno. Nijedna žena nije uzela odsustvo da bude kući sa djecom za vrijeme COVID krize. Svi zaposleni koji su u Vijestima uzeli odsustvo koje je država plaćala su bili muškarci su bili, sad će možda ovo zvučati diskriminatorski što ću reći, ali bili su toliko u strahu od COVID-a da većina njih zapravo nije uzela odsustvo da bi bila kući sa djecom, nego su se prepali da će da se zaraze. A žene su osjetile nevjerovatnu strast u tom trenutku prema svom poslu, znajući koliko je u kriznim situacijama, posebno kada je ovako jedna velika pandemija u pitanju se savremeno čovečanstvo nikad nije srelo, koliko je važna, tačna i pravovremena informacija. I one su osjetile tu strast, želju prema javnosti odgovore pravovremenom i tačnom informacijom i apsolutno su sve radile, čak su radile i više nego inače. Hoću da kažem, vremena se polako mijenjaju, čak su poznati po tome što su tradicionalni ljudi, spremni da uzmu odsustvo i da budu dok su žene te koje su, ajde da kažem, na prvoj liniji fronta kada je u pitanju odbrana prava javnosti da zna informaciju. Tako da nije više onako kako je bilo. U Crnoj Gori je u jednom trenutku, prije čini mi se 2 godine, od 4 televizije sa nacionalnom frekvencijom, sve 4 su zapravo imale žene direktorke i sve 4 su imale žene urednice. To se promijenilo zato što, naravno, javni servis koji je još uvijek u rukama politike ponovo je uzeo da vodi muškarac. Ne kažem da će on loše to da radi, ali prosto tako se desilo. Tako da u Crnoj Gori definitivno u medijima dominiraju žene, ali kao neko ko vodi posao, ne kao neko ko je vlasnik, ne kao neko ko ima bilo kakav krupni kapital, ali definitivno za obavljanje poslova.
Dobro, to je pitanje, znači zašto? Ja bi tebe pitala zašto je to tako?
Zašto su žene preuzele? Pa zato što...
Ne, nisu dovoljno preuzele.
Aha. Prvo da odgovorim zašto su preuzele ove pozicije, ok? U Crnoj Gori je marketinško tržište potpuno rastureno, ali potpuno. Znači, to je teško odgovarati medije u životu financijski. Je nekako potpuno bilo normalno da su žene morale to da preuzmu, jer muškarci ne žele da se bakću sa neisplativim biznisima, a
Marijana, je li igrala ulogu uopšte u tvoju, da ti budeš CEO od Vijesti? Je li bilo važno da budeš žena ili ne? Interesuje me ljudi koji su te supported you to be there. Je li je za njih bilo važno da žena vodi Vijesti i kako si ti došla do tu?
Pa evo sad ću vam reći, to je jedna priča koja je malo neobična. Ja sam prije nego što sam postala CEO bila novinarka i urednica. Međutim, 2014. godine televizija Vijesti, koja je i tada imala daleko najbolji informativni program u Crnoj Gori, je došla u finansijski kolaps i pred zatvaranje. I zapravo u toliko je lošoj finansijskoj situaciji bila da apsolutno niko iz krugova koji su bliski vlasnicima Vijesti nije htio da preuzme taj vrući kolač. I onda su vlasnici došli kod mene i rekli mi, dobro, evo ti si ovako uporna, da li bi ti probala ovo da spasiš? E sad, ja sam po obrazovanju profesor književnosti, po zanimanju sam novinarka i urednica. Ja ništa o tome nisam znala. Ja sam samo uzela one tabele koje u tom trenutku nisam znala ni da čitam. Vidjela sam da su tu neki minusi ogromni i da tu ljeba nema. Ali sam onda kao domaćica počela da razmišljam, ok, gdje da uštedim, šta da uradim da bi to polako preživjelo. I bukvalno sam prvih nekoliko godina vodila firmu kao domaćinstvo. Koliko džema, toliko leba. I to je bilo to. Morali su da se krešu troškovi, morala sam, nažalost, jako puno ljudi da otpustim. I poslije neke 4 godine mi smo došli na nulu. Posle nule počeli smo da ostvarujemo plus, ali ja i dalje jako puno štedim da bi mogli to da razvijamo program. E sad, pošto smo mi zapravo, to je manje poznato, mi smo zapravo 2 firme. Jedna firma je televizija Vijesti, a druga firma je Daily Press u okviru kojeg posluju novina i portal Vijesti. Onda u neko doba jako su počeli da padaju tiraži novine, ne kod nas nego svuda u svijetu, a vjerovatno znate da se od portala, iako je naš portal duplo čitaniji od svih ostalih u Crnoj Gori, ne mogu zaraditi dovoljne pare da bi se održavao cijeli sistem i onda je taj Daily Press došao u nevolju. I prije 3 godine su onda vlasnici došli i rekli, ok, ajde, spasila si televiziju, ajde sad preuzmi novinu i portal da vidimo hoćeš li moći tu nešto da uradiš. I ja sam to preuzela i evo sad je to krenulo na bolje, ali to su teške uštede, to su teška odricanja, bukvalno po 20 sati dnevno moram da radim i mislim da zapravo kad dođe do nevolje da su nekako muškarci svjesni ti da su žene te koje će vrlo prilježno da rade svoj posao i koje ni malo neće štediti ni sebe ni svoje slobodno vrijeme da bi došle do nekog cilja. Tako da možda sam ja imala u tom toj čitavoj ružnoj situaciji što sam preuzela firmu koja je bila u totalnom financijskom kolapsu, možda sam imala tu sreću što su vlasnici vrlo emancipovani ljudi koji su potpuno svjesni toga da žene znaju da povuku više i jače kada je kriza i možda i da budu lojalnije poslu i ideji i misiji i viziji firme nego muškarci kojima je češće profit na prvom mjestu.
Marijana, thank you. I love your story because you claim that you were lucky that you ended up maybe supported and emancipated by the owners who made you director, but I think they were lucky. We all know they were lucky that you took on the job, and you were only given the job because it was the hot potato. The situation was so desperate that no man was taking it. If Vijesti was doing well, shining, rich, they would give it to a man. What a story. It's amazing that they trust a woman to have more credibility to fire people, basically what the owners wanted to do. A woman has more credibility for them to do this because it is seen as somebody who would save and keep the house, do a better housekeeping. That the man who brought the media house in that situation. That's an incredible story. I will now turn to Beti Njuma, a journalist at Ora News. Beti, can you give us an idea of how the situation is with women leading key media, mainstream media in Albania? Are there any women? What are the role models out there for young women to aspire to be leading the media? And what are, do you think, the barriers precisely for people as a journalist to manage to run the media? Beti. Beti Njuma. Is Beti with us? Yes, Beti, can you unmute your mic? Please, it's muted. Can you start?
Sorry. Hello, Jeta, thank you. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, BIRN, for organizing such a timely event on women leadership in media. This event is taking place while the global community of journalists worldwide is witnessing the exodus of female journalists fleeing Afghanistan because their life is at risk after the Taliban's takeover. This event is also taking place after 2 months since a public inquiry into the assassination of the Maltese investigative journalist Daphne Galizia has found the state responsible for her death because of being unable to recognize risks to the reporter's life and take reasonable steps to avoid them. In fact, these examples show not only how difficult has become to work in the media sector in nowadays, and to fulfill the mission as a media worker, but those demonstrate how many life security barriers a woman must overcome to have a role in the media, from broadcasting to reporting. So what is the case in the situation in Albania, though? It is with regret that I have to admit that media environment in Albania is hijacked by the politics in multiple ways. We all know. Almost 5 months ago, Albania held the parliamentary elections. And in May 2021, the Network for Women Empowerment in Albania issued a monitoring report supported by the UK government on women and their presence in the media throughout the electoral campaign 2021. There are some findings of this monitoring reports that would make reflect every journalist, but especially women journalists. The high number of women candidates is not leading to the meaningful participation of women in politics. Less mediatic space for new female candidates compared to space allocated for stronger women political figures, and the coverage for issues that impact the lives of women either has been very superficial or these issues haven't been ignored at all. The electoral campaigns are usually a good opportunity to make women work in the media sector and reflect on how they can strengthen their leading role in promoting equal among candidates. Politics is not the only sector when women can increase their leading role, in fact, in the media. One of my main concerns is that is the underestimated role of women journalists in addressing human rights abuses in Albania, region-wide, but also worldwide. I must say that I bring 20 years of experience in journalism. It's not an easy thing to be a leader in the media sector, and especially in broadcasting in Albania. For as much as it is rewarding, it's very difficult from being misperceived to being offended. The most important lesson I have learned in these 20 years is that you have always have to work for the good of the public, for the good of the public. This is the leverage that pays my efforts for working in this field. I must say I bring 20 years of experience in journalism. It's not an easy thing to be a leader in the media sector, as I said, but...
So why isn't, Beti, why isn't it easy?
Let me explain.
What are the barriers apart from being there being political influence in Albanian media? That political influence is felt by men and women. So why don't women advance the same way as men in this politically influenced atmosphere?
Because girls and women they are alone. They are not partners. They are not friends with politicals. They cannot have dinner or smoke a cigarette or drink something with them. I must say, in 2002, I started working on television, and my news director at the time was a young and talented woman. And in our newsroom, there were a lot of young girls eager to learn that magic profession, how to be a journalist. I must say that there have been past about 20 years, and most of us, me too, we are still doing the same job, which is not, as I told, not very easy these days. But I must also say that 20 years after, there is not a single woman in Albania, in our television, in our newspapers, printed, directing the news.
Mm.
Only a few women directing some news portals. But I must say that we have 12 women and only 4 men that have taken the position of ministers in the new cabinet that is governing the country.
Mm-hmm.
But even they are not leading, the truth is that women have their voices into media. In a country where women make up more than half of the population, at about 54 or 56%. Okay. I must say that we don't have statistics, but most of 5,970 journalists in Albania are women. So you must we must say that we have at about 4,000 Albanian journalists, women.
Thank you, Beti. Beti, it's everybody will have 10 minutes each, and we come back to you because there are questions from people who are writing.
Yeah, but I want to say something. I have my own program starting today, so I have to leave you because I have rehearsal. I'm really very, very sorry, but also I have to follow the visit of the Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. Has just become in Albania, so I have to follow her visit in Albania for my new program. So I am very sorry I can't stay no more with you.
It's clear why you have to go. Journalists, you're the only journalist in the panel. The rest are editors and bosses.
I must say something. For 1 year in 2018, I've been a news director on the Ora television, and it was really very hard. All day working. I wasn't there for my family. I wasn't there for my kids. But as I have written to you, I'm proud I made it. I'm a journalist, and we have a lot of very good journalists in Albania.
So
we are the majority.
Beti, did you just say that you were director at Ora News?
Yes, I was news director.
News director, meaning head of news? Is that what it is? Or head?
Yes, head of news in Ora.
In Ora News, right?
In Ora, yes, Ora News.
So why did you leave?
Because it was very, very hard. As I told, all day working. I wasn't there for my kids, for my family. I wasn't there even for myself.
Okay, how old were your kids?
And the pressure, I couldn't handle the pressure.
Good. How old were your kids? So how old were your kids when you were doing head of news?
10 years old. And when I came late in home and asking them, have you done this? Have you done that? One night, one of the boys, because I have twins, they said, oh, what are you asking to me? You are not here all the day. It's late. Go and sleep. That's what he ordered to me. And I was really sorry. I started crying. I started crying. And
And as a journalist, just curious before you leave, as a journalist, you don't have those hours of work. As a journalist, you control the hours.
I can control hours. I can control myself, my work.
Interesting. Thank you very much. You can run to your job.
Jeta, you're on mute again.
Thank you. I want to just stress two important things, the very, very frank things or arguments from Beti's presentation. One, that to advance in the media, you need to be networking in the evenings with the right people. Evenings where you need to be drinking and being in largely boy clubs. in men clubs, where you need to push yourself to run a media. It's very important. A cafe and drinking culture that is expected for you to advance in your career, not just in the Balkans. The drinking, it goes on everywhere in the world. The certain networking that is expected beyond doing your job in the office or your job in the field. Hanging out that women often, for a few reasons, do not do. One, it is not seen as women are not supported by their partners to go out in the evenings with other men, to be frank, patriarchal societies. And second, women have kids to go back to. Kids can sleep without, often, very rarely kids are attached to their dads like their mothers. So I'm very happy that Beti actually explained to us the reason why she left to be director of news. Basically, she couldn't have, her family couldn't continue missing her. It's interesting. It's rarely that a man leaves a top job because he has kids at home. It is rare. I've hardly heard this before, that a man leaves a top job because kids at home needs looking after, while Beti left her job because kids needed looking after. Ivana Pavlovic, editor of Nova Ekonomija from Serbia. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I was really motivated and inspired by Beti's speech. I don't know whether you'd like to hear that, but any young person, student asking me what to study, I tell them, do not go to journalism. Go study something concrete, invest in your knowledge, in your English, be hairdresser, learn makeup artist, whatever, learn something useful so that you can easily change the industry when you are fed up, when you need more money, when you want to take care about your health, etc. I honestly mean that, and at least a few times a year I curse myself and the first editor I met 20 years ago, who invited me to be young journalist at that time. I think it's important to stress the perspective we have here. I come from a very small media comparing to other media house. Also, we are not NGO media, and we are not pro-government media. First means that we need to earn money on the market. Second means that we do not have government support. On the contrary, we are under that, we are at the risk at the moment. We are under different kind of pressures that make our work, everyday work, and the work of our colleagues, both male and female, very stressful and difficult. When I say that we need to make money on the market, it means to lean less on donation, or at least to try to depend less on donations. Thanks to donors, we would not succeed to survive last few years if there were not any donations, but at least formally Serbia is a democratic country, and we are expecting in our business plans that in next years the level of donations will decrease. It means that we need to focus on the market. It means what my colleagues do not like to hear, that journalism and media is business. This is not charity work. This is not activist work. It means that besides journalism, qualities and knowledge, you need to have some other skills, leadership skills, English skills, whatever that you not learn at the university. And those skills are usually on the opposite to the qualities you're asking from your journalists. So it's very difficult to make shift from journalism to managing teams or managing company. I'm speaking from my own perspective. when I started, journalism was mostly one-man show. You do on your own. You are only responsible from your work. But when you're an editor, you have a team to lead. You leave your children at home, but then you come to work and you have again 20 little children crying, having problems with their computers, with their private life, with their credits, etc. And you have to deal with all that, and you do not have that knowledge. So you need to find that knowledge somewhere else beside your usual work you do. Secondly, this is not family job. The very fact that you're holding your phone all day on your holiday, on your vacation, in your bed, that's very bad example, and the reason for many quarrels and misunderstanding in the family, not only with your partner. I'm not only speaking about your husband, I'm speaking with your children or your grandparents if you are supporting older or sick family members. But what's good, I must say something positive, is that there is obvious gap between generations. I'm in my early 40s, but there's difference between the way I see situation on the market, and my boss, my general manager, she is in her 50s, and younger female colleagues now coming in their 20s, early or late 20s. Why I'm saying that is because I suppose that's the case in all European, Balkan countries. The offer of the market, the offer of good journalists, not only female, I don't make a difference here, is so small that it would be really suicidal and crazy not to pick a good journalist just because she's a female, or she's a married mother with 3 children, or she's supporting a sick family member. For example, in our family, we have more children than employees. Both me and my colleagues, we together have 6 children here, and we are supporting. There are a lot of employees with large families or supporting their other members, because we cannot afford not to pick someone with good knowledge about economy, finance, good English knowledge, just because she has 3 children and her only demand is, please allow me to do remote from time to time, not only in COVID, but aside of a part of this pandemic. So maybe for our work, it would be easier to organize, to communicate if we were in the office, but we cannot just, we don't have that luxury not to accept someone with the family. And the other fact I like about younger generations, they close their computer at 5, they turn their Viber off at 5, they have their personal life, they highly value their private life, their attitudes, their spare time, their family time, and they do not want any job requests to be highly rated on their agenda during weekends after 5 o'clock. And they compare it at the time when I started. I got married and I came to work. I said, okay, they asked, but why did you come? I said, okay, but what to do at home? But comparing to junior, and I'm honestly seeing and hoping that new women coming in their late 20s are having completely different attitude. And honestly, that's what's encouraging me, that things might be better. The statistics colleagues from Macedonia and Albania said, I believe they're the same in Serbia, but the reason is highly political impact in the media. In private companies like ours, I mean, there is no reason for me to drink smoke at 8 o'clock. All my contacts are from 9 in the morning till 5 with business companies interested to pay an advertisement or to support some kind of a project. So I'm not, none of the activities in the evening. Unfortunately, political impact is so high, and that's unfortunately, when we change that, I believe that if we survive, I believe that the position of all women in the market would be better. I hope I didn't step my 10 minutes.
Thank you, Ivana. Again,
Thank
you, Ivana. Again, a very frank picture of how is a daily life in an editorial room, where, as far as I can see, the agreement is that those of us who've advanced to be editor and heading and leading teams, eventually our families get used to us the same way that our mothers would be tolerant of our fathers going in business trips, being busy with office people. Today, our families have to get used to us acting like the fathers of the past. But that means having a phone on all the time. It's stressful, but that's exactly what my biggest stresses are at home. My kids stealing my phone often, and agreeing that we will have an evening without phone, in evenings when I say, well, it's unlikely something to happen tonight, so I allow you to confiscate my phone. It's interesting that we largely have to juggle work with everything else, but I would dispute the pessimism that you, Ivana, opened your speech with, saying that you could choose another profession, like advance your English. Well, one advances English to use it in journalism too, and be a makeup artist or something. What do you think the hours of makeup artists are? They're largely have to work very hard. Private, anybody who opens a private business would be listening to us and saying that work is not easier. Work is easier only in public state jobs, when you're expected to work till 4 and there's a guaranteed salary in the end of the day. Most of us who fundraise for our media, who chase the news, who have any private entrepreneurship or private endeavor or an NGO endeavor, because NGOs take the same amount of energy to run and to fundraise for. All of us in non-public service jobs or the non-state jobs, I think, have similar challenges in juggling families with professions. Clearly, journalism is a particular job when you have to run after the story, but lots of other professions listening to us would say they juggle too. I have a question. I will now open the floor to questions to people who want to say themselves, but I already have a question for Marijana. Marijana, how long have you been doing the job you do as head of Vijesti?
Almost 8 years. I started with TV Vijesti for 8 years, and now it's 3 years of being CEO of Daily Press.
So how many women editors have you advanced in your careers? Or tell me about how have you, as Valbona Kolgesi asked, she asks a very gentle question of how do you ensure gender mainstreaming today in Vijesti? And I want to know the figures. How do you ensure gender mainstreaming?
Okay, in TV Vijesti, I already explained that we are two separate media outlets according to law and everything. In TV Vijesti, we have editor-in-chief. She is Tatjana Ašunin, famous editor-in-chief in Montenegro, and she's very hard professional, and I'm so proud of her. And the biggest number of editors, news editors in TV Vijesti are women, and also editor-in-chief of morning program is also Bojana Bojović. And when we are talking about the other departments, well, we have Director of Programming, Ana Novović, Director of Financial Department, Jelena Varagić. We have Sales Director, Sanja Bracanović, and the only one is Director of Production, Igor Habić. You know, we have just one man as director of one department in RTV. Well, in daily press isn't the same situation because I'm just 3 years in daily press. We have more men in daily press. Editor-in-chief is a man. Director of printing house is a man. Sales director is a woman, and director of finance and the other directors are also women. And we have in daily press half-half situation, but in TV Vijesti there is, you know, there is more women than men.
I have a confession to make, because I want the same. I want to answer this question about my office, where I struggle to find enough women editors. The good side is BIRN was founded by women. So out of 6 countries in the Balkans, they're all run by women directors, apart from BIRN Romania. So as a network, I think we have women running offices because largely the women were only the women were founders of BIRN. But I struggle to have enough women editors. Majority of I run an office of 70 people. 60% of journalists in my office are women, and out of 7 editors, only 1 is a woman. I struggle to encourage women to take up higher posts. And that continues to be a struggle. Although, to answer Valbona's Kulgesi, how do you ensure mainstreaming? I am not, simply when we talk to women, we cannot convince them to take higher jobs. They prefer, by the time they are ready to take up these posts after several years in journalism, I find that majority chooses an easier job in order to run a family. They do not want to pursue a managerial job. I find that it's usually because of long hours, no matter what, no matter of better financial reward, it doesn't pay off to have what it seems for them longer working hours. So this continues to be a struggle. Tatiana Obradović, I would like you to say the question, because now we are done with the presentation. So rather than me read it from the chat box, Tatiana, unmute your mic and you can pose your question.
Thank you so much, Jeta, and thank to all speakers. It was really inspirational listening all of them. I just wanted to bring conversation to something that we need to maybe set as a top question, and that is, why we need more women in managerial position? Because as a societies, we already heard all of the speakers, and Lara as our project leader, as a society, we see lots of, we are patriarchal societies, and we are living in patriarchal societies as such, and we see so much injustice in the societies we are living in. So I think that by bringing conversation to that, what are women bringing to the media business as such? So what is changing in running business if women is there? Is it change? Maybe there is no change, but why media business as such needs more women, and why we as society need more women to write the stories and run media and bring different stories to the citizens in countries we are living in. And also that leads then to the conclusions Lara pointed out from our project, where we have women authors of the media content, but then we do not have change in narratives. So is change on the managerial level, meaning owners, editors, is bringing different narratives to the stories and content media is producing, and in that way media influences the change in society. So I think whoever, I see Biljana raise her hand. So in that sense, like, to discuss that it's not only women entering, as Marijana said, feminization of the profession. So women are entering positions and professions which are less paid, and males are leaving those positions. There is really a higher question of just societies that I think women journalists and editors can influence. And my question to the audience is, am I right? So can we talk in that sense of why is that? It's not only taking over numbers and having more males and females. That's not the story we want to talk about. It's not taking over positions. There is much higher question on why we need more women. So
very good question, Tatiana. Can the panelist who wants to address this tell us? I know Biljana is waiting to pose a question. You're next, but just for now, Biljana, you address this question.
Yes, I think at first having more women at top positions within the managerial system in the newsrooms will of course affect the gender balance, but also will pretty much reflect and improve the inclusiveness in the reporting. It turns out that women are more, so to say, lean on presenting more stories that affect lives of marginalized people. This is something we are missing in our society. As media are pretty much influential in shaping the reality, I think having more women in this position would have a far more broader effect in all segments of the society, on social level, on health level, and on all other levels, on political level, on economic level, because in all these segments we feel and we actually see, according to the numbers I mentioned at the beginning, we see how women are marginalized and unrepresented. This also affects problems with vulnerability of women in context of harassment, of domestic violence, on sexual harassment. Having women who go out, especially famous media, famous journalists, famous editors, female editors and journalists, going out and in public and discussing their cases when they have been, for example, sexually harassed, when they have been under pressure from the public in this sexistic or in sexistic context, or when violence has been used against them, and when they talk loud in public, this has a very strong effect in all other segments of the society. By that way, we build society where we have more equal representation of men and women.
Yeah, thank you, Valbona Kolgetsi. You have the floor for the question.
I think you can hear me now. Thank you very much. I don't have questions anymore. I have some answers if you want to hear them, because the theme of this very timely debate is why we do need. I do agree with ladies speaking before me that it is not anymore a question of numbers. We all know the numbers. It is also a question of structural changes in our newsrooms. And I do think that why we don't have more women editors in the media, it is directly related with an unfair recruitment process in our newsrooms. I have not heard in 20 years an open contest for managerial positions in our media. It is done by short circuits between the owners of the media and the people they think they will obey to their, let's say, interests. So first, it is recruitment process. Second is the model job that we are
Okay, we hope to have Albona return and continue her argument. But she was making very good points about recruitment process in this basically in this the whole hierarchy. I want to pose another question of how do other women support women being advanced? What can women do for women? That is also something that Biljana addressed. But I'm interested to know if we've got examples of other people who have supported other women and put out the narrative. As Tatiana said, put out a different narrative. This is not a fight for numbers, it's a fight for the story. That is not his story. History, as we know, is also dominated by the stories of men. If we can change the domination of stories, actually present women voices.
Sorry,
yeah.
If I can continue because I had an interruption. Yeah?
Yes, continue. Good that you're back.
Thank you very much. I was saying that without tackling the real problem that we have with labor conditions in media industry, we are not going to solve this problem because, as many colleagues mentioned, there is a model of editors that it is not human. I mean, we are asking women editors to choose between career and family. This is a debate in 60s. It cannot be anymore in 2000. And instead of that, why we don't try to change this business model that making the editorial positions much more human and much more, let's say, adaptable to this need of the family. I do agree that this is not a family job, but it cannot be also 24 hours useless profession, sacrificing too much for what? I mean, why we should adopt to the model of the editors who dine with the owners and have no time for their family. Instead of that, let's try to bring another model of professions that have also family career balance into their vision. This is
I agree, Valbona. I agree with you. And COVID has helped shift that mentality because it has told us all we can do it from home. So
Yeah.
it's just been helpful, and we should use this opportunity to make the job more
Yes.
flexible.
And I would
Third,
ask all the women who are in managerial positions to try to initiate change and make gender policies work for everyone. And I mean, we have seen cases when women managers like Sherry Sander, for example, in Facebook, she initiated to have nurseries for kids at the job places. It is not kind of rocket science we are making here in the media industries, because media industries is a job market like every where else, and the gender equity is an issue for every job industry. So instead of kind of making the status quo continuing, but not bringing a good example how you can be also an editor and a mother and editor and a chief editor and fulfilling woman for yourself. Let's start by making some gender policies that are systemic, because I do understand that when you are a woman and you want to have more women colleagues in the position, but this ends with you if you don't have something written, if it is not in your human resources policy, or it is not in your documents and in your recruitments. I'm very fond of the expression that the gender equity is achievable only when it is intentional. So we might have the intention to achieve gender equality, not for the sake of the numbers, but for the sake of the equity possibility to give every woman and girl the possibility to have a career in journalism without having to do so many sacrifices. And the last point is that the public service media should lead by example. I totally agree that in private sector you have all this kind of relationship with politics and media owners, but in public service you should lead by example by having gender policies in place, and we don't have to prove to anyone that women can do jobs as as editors or editors-in-chief. We have plenty of examples. I can mention only that in Albania, for the third year in a row, the best investigative journalists are women. I mean, why we should turn around and say, oh, no, we have to give them more possibility. What we have to change is the work environment, and also initiate some changes that are systemic and not on individual basis. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Valbona, just tell us, what do you do? What's your job?
I'm a former journalist. I'm a freelance journalist, and I'm a media expert in Media for All.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good points. I agree with you. Yasir Missini, can you tell us about, can you share with us the story you want to share? Yasir, it's your floor. Unmute your mic and you can start talking. You've asked to speak. Po.
Kërkoj falje, nashta unë kërkoj të flas në gjuhën shqipe.
I will speak in Albanian language. May I? Yes. I am from Prizren, Yasir Missini. I work in media, mainly in the radio of Roma Voice. I work in a community which is patriarchal ideas regarding gender, and on daily basis we try to avoid such opinions and come up with opinions which are different from patriarchal and dogmatic ones. Currently I work as a field journalist, and every day I am close to my citizens, and I see that they always seek information in their own language. And now I realize that I can see various languages here, but what if I didn't speak Albanian here? And what if I did not get educated in Albanian? I would not be able to communicate my thoughts in Roma, in my own language. And this way, we are still being discriminated, and not only.
Jeta Xharra që këtë ngjarje e din më shumë se 4 gjuhë, kjo ndikon për shkak se ne duhet duhet të mësojmë gjuhën të tjera për shkak të jemi shkelur në mënyrë domethënë indirekte.
Indirectly being discriminated. Secondly, every day we produce news in Roma language to fulfill the interest of Roma community, and I encourage to visit our webpage radioromanoavazo.com, and you will come across a Roma language which you could find interesting on this, where the news is heard in the Roma language, so not only press but also voice. We have a female editor for 10 years now, and I encourage citizens and Roma community members to learn about journalism and to learn another journalistic branch to get expertise. And it's not the problem only with journalism. I believe that women are being discriminated in all other areas. As a young person, the problems of women, there should be awareness raising among population to avoid patriarchal thoughts and dogmatic thoughts. I have a question to all you journalists. What could you suggest to me to learn more about journalism, and who should I address to if I wanted to learn in order to fulfill the criteria for a journalist? Thank you.
Faleminderit. Mendoj që e ke shtru një pyetje të rëndësishme, shumë të rëndësishme, ku më drejtuar.
Thank you. I think you asked a good question regarding who you should address in order to develop as a journalist. But now, since this debate relates to women in media and why they don't get advanced, I just want to highlight that BIRN very often organizes various trainings. So what you could do is attend one of these trainings where you could learn about various genres of journalism, and then attend other trainings organized by various organizations for advancing journalistic skills. Thank you.
Thanks to posing this question, to 2 or 3 questions that were posed. I'm wondering if anybody else has something to say. This is the last chance, because I want to give Larissa, to go back to Larissa, who gave us very good openings with statistics, to give us her thoughts, to summarize our discussion. And unless anybody else has any other questions in the next 5 minutes, I would like to close this debate. Larissa.
Sorry, Jeta, I can see that Lara is not with us. Lots of people had problems with internet. Ivana, Pavlovic, one of the speakers, also dropped out at some point, but now she's back with us. But since we also work on this project, and I see that our colleague Leila, who is a gender expert for the entire project, is here, and I'm pretty sure that she could answer your question. Yeah. Sorry for jumping in.
Yes, Leila, be my guest.
Thank you, Mil. Yes, I was looking for Larissa myself, thinking that she would. There were a few points that she could have addressed, but let me try to reflect to some of the issues that we raised here and how we can sort of contain them within the framework of the Media for All project.
I think one important point here overall that we touched upon is sort of debate between traditional media, traditional approaches and modern approaches, something that Valbona really poignantly reflected beforehand on. And I would tie it in with what our colleague Ivana earlier, yes, I see Ivana Pavlovic was also reflecting on, saying media is a business. Let's be aware of that. And as a business, it has its rules, norms, values, it has its reach outs, and it aims to reach out to diverse audiences. And that's where gender concerns and gender issues really come in neatly for us all to bring us into the 21st century, as simple as that. We cannot function in the media domain anymore like we did in the late 20th century. It's 21st century. There are many approaches. And particularly when you want to sort of seeking to, if you work in a media outlet that has specific business related goals that are to increase your audiences, to reach out to various concerns as we work with small independent media, for example, in local communities, then of course the question is that we need to reach out to 50% of the population living there, and that is women as well. And how do we do it? We really do it through integrating concerns of men and women equally in our reporting, in the work that we do and that we present to our audiences. Now, having more women in media outlets, the hope was, and having more women in managerial positions, the hope is that this will come in naturally, but this doesn't come naturally. We as women journalists, as women editors, have to also start from ourselves, asking ourselves about our own deeply ingrained and sort of accepted cultural or traditional expectations, prejudices that we might have in relation of how businesses are run. Is this the way, the old way of the business that we can continue? Or can we, as Valbona was reflecting herself, can we integrate modern approaches, new ways of storytelling, of production, and how do we place our content so that we have this equality and diversity ingrained in the approaches. So I think one of the important things is also to start from ourselves and then reach out and see, because gender equality is not only about women. Gender equality, just to turn the story back perhaps to the very subject of today's debate, gender ideologies really set up in the society power relations. And opening up to that, we can then see and we can perhaps work to challenge those existing power structures and power relations. And some research can help us in that. I found an example of, I can share that link with you afterwards, of Agora, organization that is really promoting gender equality through media, the way the media are organized and the way media's content is produced. And they ask themselves the question, okay, what is the difference between media that mainstreams gender, both within its organization and the content, and those more traditional media that do not take any gender concerns into, they don't simply consider that. The traditional media, or those that are focused on the, as we know, hard topic and power relation. They're focused on the politics. They're focused on the power interplay and struggle that we see in the political economic domains. Those that integrate gender, as Biljana, Petkovska, you were reflecting, those are actually the ones who challenge more these structures, who include interests of the population and basically ask the positions of power for their responsibility. They're the ones who do that through simply the media's watchdog role and live up to that expectation. That's why we need sort of gender equality as a set of values, as a political approach in our political, under in commas, of course, in our engagement. And Media for All project really strives to sort of encompass these values and assist small independent media in their efforts to modernize, along the lines of many questions that Biljana was has actually shared with us, not to go through those. So that is just a reflection on some of the issues we touched upon, but I just would like to answer one of your questions, Jeta, and that was, how can we as women, sort of in senior positions, more experienced, help younger generations? And I think that is a very, very important point. Within our project, Media for All, we have introduced a mentoring program for women in media. This was piloted earlier this year, and there was a broad open call with an excellent set of 6 mentors across the region, mentoring young entry-level women, entry career level women journalists. And this year, we are, this year now, as of autumn, we are continuing with our grantees from 85 media outlets, as Larissa informed you at first. What this program is, it is a very well structured, organized, sort of done by, how can I say, by the book process of mentorship that focuses both on individual but also on professional needs and requirements for development of young women professionals. And it is the 6-month-long process. And it really nicely inbuilds the core values of what goes on, I'm sure, in many of your media outlets, where sort of more experienced colleagues are sharing, hopefully, their learnings with younger colleagues who are just coming into the profession. And what we learned through these programs that we piloted and that are continuing now is how important it is to open the intergenerational sort of discussion and channels, because in this world that is changing so rapidly, we know that we can learn a lot from our younger colleagues, that they are the ones who can really give important insight of sort of how it is for them facing the world that is changing. And it seems to me that us who have sort of 20 or more years experience are still seeing some old ways that are disappearing in front of our eyes, while the younger generation can really provide a very important input for us all. And it's through these discussions that we can assist each others. There is more that I could share about the project, but I think I would like to stop here to give it back to Jeta and sort of reflect on some other points, if you wish. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I would like to see any final statements from Ivana, Marijana, and Biljana. I would say they can all take a minute each, whoever has a final statement and reflection to say on our discussion, and then make a closure. Biljana, we'll start with you, then go to Marijana and Ivana.
Yes, thank you, Jeta.
There are two recommendations I would like to underline here that I consider quite important and relevant for the entire region and maybe wider. I think that since I work for the media organization, I think it's quite important that associations like Journalists Association, Media Institute Centers, Unions of Journalists, and so on, should strengthen support for women journalists and establish mechanism for effective action in cases of threats, sexist insults and hate speech, blackmail, violence, etc. Because very often women journalists are faced with that. In that way, not only will the competent institutions be alerted on time to act, but this issue will raise the awareness of the public, which should be the greatest protector of journalists. Then I also think that editorial offices should establish internal rules or adopt codes or practices that address the sexual harassment of journalists and other media employees in the workplace. And the third point, I think that supporting the opportunities for the equal career development of journalists or media workers, especially in cases when they return from maternity leave or sick leave, but also during the entire work engagement in certain media. This will enable the journalists to acquire skills and knowledge with which they will be qualified and will be able to advance in their positions within the newsroom.
Thank you. Marijana, zadnje reči od tebe. Are you with us, Marijana?
She texted me that she needs a minute, but we can go to Ivana maybe first, and
yes,
then Marijana will be back hopefully.
Final words, Ivana, and you are obliged to be positive.
You're on mute, Ivana.
Unmute yourself, Ivana.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll be positive.
Yeah, for the end.
Yes, I think that I agree with my colleague. We need more. We need media associations. We don't have any unions, unfortunately. Strong and real journalism media unions in Serbia, but I think that actually media association need greater support in order to support not only women but all journalism in area, or especially in working conditions, health conditions, etc. When we try to deal with that, I think that the position of women and other vulnerable groups would improve generally. And secondly, I think that we need to insist on general institutional frame that government is settling, especially when we are talking about remote work, mother's position, etc. Because now we are depending on goodwill of our bosses and husbands, partners, parents, etc. Whoever is supporting family, and something positive for the end. I strongly believe that situation is improving because we are having new generation. There are even new media startups. No one can afford to lose women as consumers and public. Half of the population more are women readers, viewers, etc. It will be completely crazy to ignore this group as your consumer.
That's precisely what I wanted to end with, that it is our audiences that make the demand for us to have a more women leadership. And it's not just us wanting to, or a matter of wish. Today, people who lead by old style rules will lose audiences and thus will lose their jobs. So if men don't become more equal, their media risks of being distinct. If women and men leading the media don't become more equal into improving the equality in their organization, they will become extinct, I believe, in front of an audience who is very aware and much more politically correct and politically militant about pursuing fighting discrimination in all directions: environmental, gender, class, economic, everything else. So thanks to everybody for participating. Is Marijana maybe want to say something if she's back with us? Yes, Marijana. Neke zadnje reči od tebe, tebi nisam čula za kraj pre nego što završimo.
Ok, bila su vrlo ovo izazovna vremena za žene, posebno kao što je više dragih koleginica danas pomenulo u vrijeme COVID krize, kada su nam i djeca bila kući, pa je trebalo i to i organizovati to njihovo učenje. Ja imam troje djece i nekako ovih dana uz sve sam moj fokus i žar koji imam za to što radim, ovih dana nekako osjećam i nelagodu jer moj najstariji sin odlazi van Crne Gore na fakultet. Za 2 godine će i mlađi sin da ide van Crne Gore, nadam se, na fakultet i nekako razmišljam o tome kako je prošlo skoro 19 godina od kad sam ga rodila, najstarijeg sina, a koliko sam malo vremena provela sa njim. Međutim, kad razgovaram sa djecom, vidim koliko nekako oni promišljaju svijet oko sebe vrlo, što bi mi rekli, stameno. Ne znam kako ćete prevesti na engleski taj izraz. Vrlo koračaju kroz život vrlo otvorenih očiju i hrabroga srca i nekako bez obzira na to što ja nikada nisam šetala sa djecom kroz park, nikada nisam kao druge majke imala taj komoditet da ih izvedem, da šetam sa njima, da se ne javljam na telefon, da me na ulici ne sreću ljudi koji im se žale na nepravdu sa kojom se susreću u životu. Opet vjerujem da nisam loša majka jer sam im dala neku drugu vizuru života koja je slika osobe koja se bori i koja želi da bude na strani onih kojima su prava ili ukinuta ili smanjena ili prosto građana koji samo žele istinu da znaju o zbivanjima oko njih. I moram da kažem da vjerujem da će, pošto imam 2 sina i 1 ćerku, vjerujem da će mojim sinovima način na koji ja živim biti dobar model da poštuju žene više nego što je uobičajeno u crnogorskom društvu, a vjerujem da će mojoj kćerki to biti dobar model da zna da može da se izbori i sama bez ičijeg, kako bih rekla, u Crnoj Gori je nepotizam vrlo, vrlo raširen, a vjerujem i u drugim balkanskim zemljama, ali za Crnu Goru je to posebno specifično jer smo malo društvo gdje je svako svakome rođak ili kum. Pa meni se zadesilo da nemam ni rođaka ni kuma koji mi je pomagao, sve sam nekako sama radila, tako da vjerujem da će mojoj djeci, bez obzira na to što su vrlo malo vremena proveli sa majkom, za sve ove godine ipak to biti neki dobar model za poštovanje drugih žena ili za, kao što rekao, za ćerku da ima više samopouzdanja nego što uobičajeno crnogorska porodica može svojoj kćerki da ponudi. I da na kraju se vraćam na sami početak onoga što sam pričala kad sam pričala o tome da su žene u vrijeme krize imale veću strast za posao. Moram za kraj da kažem još jednu konkretnu situaciju. Na primjer, mi smo imali, vjerovatno ste pratili u medijima, prije 2 sedmice je Crna Gora bila bukvalno na ivici sukoba kada se na Cetinju umalo susrele, da tako kažem, 2 radikalizovane grupacije građana i tu su naši izvještači sa lica mjesta, naše drage koleginice, reporterke koje su radile live-ove, što je bilo izuzetno teško jer su ih bukvalno napadali građani koji su protestovali, napadali su ih na najgori mogući način. I ono što mi je nekako ostalo od svih tih povika, nijedan povik nije bio na njihov profesionalizam. Nijedan povik nije bio na to što njihova medijska kuća radi. Svi su ih oni pokušali uvrijediti na način kako je nekako najpristupačnije i najlakše uvrijediti ženu, a to je pozivajući se, sada ih ne citiram šta su im sve govorili, na neke moralne karakteristike. Znači, mi koliko god da smo hrabre i koliko god smo vrijedne i koliko god radimo, izložene smo tom najgorem mogućem rječniku balkanskom i toj najgoroj mogućoj balkanskoj osudi kad više ne znaju šta će da vam rade i kako će da vas unize, onda vam iz pozadine viču najružnije moguće riječi koje je moguće uputiti jednoj ženi. Bez obzira, te naše novinarke su uglavnom i majke i supruge i slično, što naravno ne znači da one koje nisu majke ili supruge da je njima lakše podnijeti sve to, ali ovo je, bez obzira na sve što mi radimo, i dalje svijet muškaraca i zato je bitno da svaka od nas svojim primjerom se bori i snažno stane na stranu žena, čak i kad se ne slažemo sa njima u političkom smislu, da stanemo na stranu žena koje muškarci uporno pokušavaju da vrijeđaju, jer ne postoji pandan za muški rod za te uvrede koje oni ženama upućuju kada im žene smetaju i kada se ne slažu sa onim što one rade na profesionalnom nivou. Izvinite, malo sam odužila i jako mi je drago što sam vas nekako i online danas sve upoznala. Nadam se da ćemo kad prođe COVID kriza imati priliku i uživo da se vidimo, jer čini mi se imamo itekako o čemu da pričamo. Ja se još jednom izvinjavam što sam govorila na crnogorskom, ne bih vas mučila mojim engleskim, jer prosto nisam savršena žena, nikad ga nisam naučila dovoljno dobro da bi se osjećala pametnom kad govorim engleski.
Hvala. Marijana, faleminderit të gjithëve. Thanks everybody for participating in this debate, which I enjoyed because I met people that I don't know. So in a time when we are not traveling and meeting, this is so much better than not meeting you at all. And I'm sure that all of us got a lot out of just ensuring that nobody has it better living anywhere else we are in the Balkans. I'm sure, I just want to share that I think when I listen to international discussions about similar topics, in no other country I find, in no other region of the world, do women have it easy, and they're going through the same thing as we are, despite the fact that we live in a more patriarchal society than the rest of Europe, I would say. So thanks everybody, and the organizers, Aida and Larissa. for getting this wonderful panel together. Thanks to the participants who took part, and how civilized you all were with your contributions. See you in other BIRN events.
Thank you, Jeta.
Hi, Jeta. Sorry.
Yeah.
Could I jump in just quickly, please? Are we closing, or do we have time until 12?
Leila, if you have a few last words, you're fine. I would like to end before 12.
Yes, of course we will. I just wanted to, it would be really a shame just to wrap up before since we have this good audience. And I'm glad I stopped, because your panelists really touched important topics that I would like to share with the rest of the participants, how we are addressing these within the Media for All program. So Jeta, you did ask a question previously about how sort of mature, experienced women can support entry career level journalists, and we told you about the mentoring program. Marijana, you just touched upon the issue of gender-based violence, and I would like to inform you all that we have delivered and are continuing with our gender trainings. We talked about gender equality concepts, use of gender-based, gender-sensitive language, making those content gender-sensitive, how to integrate various concerns, but also we had a particular module dealing with safety of men and women journalists, and looking into how safety is sort of differently understood and experienced by men journalists and by women journalists. And from that, we have produced some of the good sort of risk assessment handouts and matrices for the participants to apply in their context. So we have some learnings that we could further share from that. So with the trainings, we are addressing core causes of these causes of discrimination and prejudice, and these are ongoing. I told you about mentorship. What Valbona talked about, we are also doing through our project. And as Valbona said, if you don't have these concerns written, coded, defined in your policies, in your codes of ethics, professional conduct, guidelines, all of that just sort of remains within the realm of discussions as we are having it today. So we are dealing with gender policies and assisting media to make their gender policies sensitive. And the last but not least is what Ivana Pavlovic mentioned, and that is associations and networks. We are, through our program, initiating or rather supporting the homegrown regional initiative to strengthen women's networks and associations. And I'd rather have our consultant Masha Mileusnik just tell you a few words about this, and then with that I'm returning it to you, Jeta. Thank you so much for leaving this space for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Leila, and thank you all of you for this really encouraging debate and safe place for all of us. I'm ex-journalist and ex-news editor, ex-everything in media. Now I'm a consultant, media and communication consultant, including a British Council program Media for All. I want to talk about what Leila said about the importance of networking, of communicating, connecting each other in regional level, because I'm a part of a Serbian network, women journalist network against violence, and with the close collaboration with Bosnian and Herzegovinian colleagues, women colleagues. They have a similar group. I want to share with you our experience in importance of being connected and being in some kind of a regional roof network. I think this will be part of the solution for all our issues as women journalists in Balkans, to work together, to empower each other, to support each other, and to be more visible with our issues, with our striving to be on the better positions in our media outlets. Sorry for being so short, but you can reach. I'm here for all of you to talk about it. Valbona is already part of this initiative to support, to connect each other in some kind of, Balkan network, or you can call it whatever you want.
Thank you.
We are also looking forward to see you all in person, I hope, because we are planning to do, to organize some kind of gathering in November or October. We will see, but I'm asking you to ask any questions if you have to, or to join our initiative to be more powerful together. Thank you.
That's a very good point to tell us all about resources that BIRN has and that other people who participated in this panel can turn to. Thanks everybody, and look forward to meeting you, all of you in person. I really enjoyed meeting you online, virtually. See you live one day.
Thank you, Jeta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeta. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.